Hey everyone, today it's time for another monthly recommendations. So the topic for June is audiobooks, and I thought this was a great idea because I do listen to quite a lot of audiobooks, and I thought I would use this opportunity to talk to you about some of my favorite audiobooks. So this is not so much about the content of the book, although I do think basically all of the books I wrote down are books where I also really enjoyed the content because it also just makes it easier for me to recommend it to you. But this is not technically about the content, but about the narration. Now, this obviously just influences each other. But these are just audiobooks where I think that the reading experience is just as good, if not better, than reading the physical book. And maybe also audiobooks that even if you have already read the book, you might want to give the audiobooks a chance for your reread. So I have two categories. I have fiction and non-fiction, although non-fiction only includes memoirs because that's just kind of what I really tend to listen to. But yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. The first one I have is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is narrated by Barney Turpin. This is an absolutely amazing, really intense experience. I definitely want to give a warning, like there's a general trigger warning for this because, you know, it is very much about police brutality, but in the audiobook it is so well acted that it's definitely like a little bit scary. But if you think you can handle it, this is just wonderful. Barney Turpin is a wonderful narrator in general. I would recommend listening to things that she has narrated, but The Hate You Give especially is just such an amazing experience and just really adds another layer, which is what I want when I listen to an audiobook. So even if you have already read The Hate You Give, I highly recommend checking out the audiobook as well. The same goes for A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Reading, and I actually listened only to A Gathering of Shadows. I read it first, obviously, when it came out, and then about a year later I listened to the audiobook for the first time, and I absolutely love it. And I have not listened to A Conjuring of Light, but I know it's the same narrators, so I can really recommend it wholeheartedly. I know the first book has a different narrator, and I know the first book is not done well, so I'm not recommending that. But if you are looking for a way to get through A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light, you know, two pretty big books, or if you're wanting a reread but you don't really find time to actually sit through the books, the audiobooks are amazing. I love both of these narrators. I think their voices fit the story perfectly. I think these are like voices where the voices don't really represent any of the characters, but it just fits the story. It fits the tone, it fits the atmosphere, and I just, oh my god, like, you know me, I love this series with all of my heart. If I am telling you the audiobook is worth it, you better believe it. Then I have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is narrated by Steve West. I think Steve West is a wonderful narrator. I think just the whole story gets so much life and is so, well, in itself, it's very atmospheric, and Laini Taylor has amazing writing, but just his narration for me added a level that I just really loved. I really loved listening to him. I really love falling asleep to this audiobook because his voice is very soothing. Then I have Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This is narrated by an ensemble cast. Behind Her Eyes was doing such a good job with the ensemble cast. This is one where the narration in general is good, but I also just really like the concept. I think having the ensemble cast fits disgustingly well. It is so well done, and like I'm just gonna tell you that while you listen to the last, I don't know, 10%, 20% of it, you better stay home somewhere where nobody can see your face because it is gonna mess with your brain so much. But it is amazing, and I don't think, I mean, I'm sure I would have loved the book anyway, but I don't think it would have had quite the impact that it had on me if I had read the physical book. So definitely a huge recommendation. And then I have Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is told by Helen Duff. I have not yet looked up the sequel, but I know that if Grey Sister is narrated by Helen Duff as well, then I will definitely listen to this as well. For this one, I do want to say that I think this is not one of those audiobooks that you can listen to just while you're like cleaning or while you're cooking. It is definitely a fantasy book where you really have to concentrate, and I definitely know that there's a couple of things that I missed because I always do something while I listen to an audiobook, but that's not the fault of the audiobook or the narrator. So that's why I still really want to recommend it, because I think this is just another one where the voice just fits so well to the story, but the voice also fits so well to the character, in my personal opinion. And then for all my German people out there, I definitely want to recommend like one narrator as a whole, and that is Louise Ahem. I think she is amazing, and she does the Cecilia, or she did a lot, like I'm gonna say 80% of the Cecilia Ahern books. I think she did some of the Jojo Moyes books. She has a big variety. If you listen to different of her stuff, she has a big variety in her voice, but especially for these kinds of chick lit-ish books, she just fits perfectly. She does it so well. She has a lot of emotion in her voice, and I just think her voice is really lovely. So if you're German or if you're learning German and you want to listen to some German audiobooks, Louise Ahem is like my number one I would recommend. Now let's get into the non-fiction. I'm kind of gonna go through this list quickly, but yeah, my first one is Would You Rather by Katie Haney. I just recently read this, absolutely love this. The book is amazing, but she also does a really great job narrating. Then I have Yes Please by Amy Poehler. I honestly cannot imagine reading this as a physical copy. I think Amy Poehler has a certain kind of humor that just comes across so well when she's telling it herself. So I definitely think this is one of those memoirs where I would rather recommend actually listening to the audiobook more than reading the physical books, because of Amy Poehler and the way she is, you know, just her whole personality just comes across so much more in this memoir when you listen to it. Then I have Unfiltered by Lily Collins. I think this is actually one that I enjoyed so much more because I actually listened to Lily Collins telling me the story herself, and you could really feel her emotions and her pain and what she was telling us. And I think that is not only great as a listening experience, but also just something that I find incredibly brave. I just really think that Lily Collins did an amazing job, and I'm really not sure if I would have enjoyed the physical book, I'm gonna say quite honestly, but I think hearing her tell this story was amazing. Then I have The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo by Amy Schumer. I actually do not like Amy Schumer, but my Overdrive had the audiobook, and so I decided to just listen to it, and I thought this was an amazing memoir. This was a side that I had never known even existed inside of Amy Schumer. If you're expecting this to be her kind of comedy, it's not what it is at all. This is a very quiet, very intense kind of memoir, but it's amazing. It's so good. And I really, really like Amy Schumer a lot more since I listened to her memoir, since I heard her talk about all of these things. It's like, really, this is one that I highly recommend, even if you're not attached to the person or even if you don't like the person. This is an incredible memoir. Then I have You're Never Weird on the Internet by Felicia Day. I think this is probably one that I would also have enjoyed reading the physical copy of, but Felicia Day has a cute, amazing voice. It's always just better to listen, so I thought I would just pack it on the list as well. And finally, I have The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, if only because I really think Carrie Fisher has such an amazing voice, but I just think that you can really, really hear all the stuff that she went through in her voice. I think she comes across as incredibly vulnerable, and it will just give you an extra gut punch because of her death. You will hear her voice and you will think, I can't believe this person is not with us anymore, but it's also just so well done. I honestly cannot imagine not listening to this. And then, you know, the parts that her daughter reads, it's just such an experience, and it will make this so much more intense and you will feel so much more connected. I don't think that the physical book could do that. So yeah, these are all of the audiobooks that I really, really loved. Let me know if there's any books in here that you have also listened to or that you maybe want to listen to now. And obviously I want to know some of your favorite audiobooks. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon.